have a quote for you here that's been making the rounds on social media about the deportation of criminal illegal aliens. We are a nation of laws. Undocumented workers broke our laws, and I believe they must be held accountable, especially those who may be dangerous. That's why over the past 6 years, deportations of criminals are up 80%, and we're going to keep focusing on threats to our security.
I think that policy comes from a place of white American nationalism. Donald Trump has kind of embraced this rhetoric of racism and xenophobia that is not beneficial to our country at all.
This administration has totally not done anything moral.
This is really awful. We just have to advocate for those kinds of people, and people in Congress like Ocasio-Cortez, who is helping people overcome these kinds of things.
Campus reform quizzing college students from one of America's elite schools, Georgetown University. They're quick to call the president racist, obviously, but it turns out that Obama made that statement, not Donald Trump. Now see how they respond.
I thought it was the Trump administration that said something like that.
It never occurred to me that it could be Obama.
Do you think it's still a practice of white nationalism, though, to deport criminal illegal aliens?
I think the way Trump's doing it is.
I don't know a ton about Obama's deportation policies, but I imagine that they were a lot more humane than the ones currently going on.
It costs $54,000 a year to attend Georgetown. Think about that. Are they getting their money's worth? All right, and now a follow-up to the exclusive report we brought to you last night. At least 5 of the 22 MS-13 gang members arrested in connection with a killing spree in California this week sought asylum in the United States. But the Trump administration rolled out a new asylum rule on Tuesday. You may not have seen that. That change impacts Central American migrants crossing the southern border. They are now ineligible for asylum in the U.S. if they passed through another country along the way. The question is, of course, will it work? Here to discuss is Art Arthur, a fellow for the Center for Immigration Studies, and Alan Orr, an immigration attorney and activist. Gentlemen, welcome aboard. Obviously, this is a situation affecting every single American. I have to ask Alan, what's interesting here is that, I believe that we all want America to do well, and we want people to thrive, and America's always been a beacon for immigrants and those who need help. But even the European Union has a rule about stopping in the nearest country, the first country you come to, when you are seeking asylum. And wouldn't that make sense if you're fleeing a horrible situation to want to find asylum and safety as soon as possible? Why is it wrong to recognize the importance of that kind of a rule and apply it here?
I don't think it's wrong to recognize that type of the rule. I just think it can't be done from the president's office. It needs to come from Congress, because that's the way that our asylum laws sort of work. So he's doing exactly what he claimed the Obama administration did wrong, which is a lot of executive orders and executive rewriting of rules that should be administered by Congress. But you're correct. But in Europe, there are a lot of countries that are friendly countries, safe countries. We're saying now that these people who are coming through Central America that we've already said is invaded by MS-13 should stop in Mexico. And we have travel advisories ourselves for Americans who travel to Mexico to say be safe of kidnapping. So it's not a safe zone. So this doesn't really work that way. And on the policy side, even Mexico hasn't agreed to take these individuals back. So it's not a good resolution. What in fact it does is end asylum for everybody in Central America.
Yeah, well, now, when it comes to the conservative end, if I may ask, we've got a whole framework here for Americans, and obviously we're caring about those who are migrants trying to come through as well. But when it comes to the national security issue, he has declared that we have a national security emergency. Isn't this exactly the kind of rule that we need? Rules, the president is an executive individual. He's a man of action. Congress has not been willing to work with him. That's obvious. So from the conservative perspective, is this a proper thing for government to do, sir?
Tammy, if you take a look at the Immigration and Nationality Act, the Attorney General is actually given the authority to set conditions on eligibility. Congress has given the Attorney General almost a blank check as it relates to that. So I disagree with the fact that the president doesn't have this authority. And again, this is logical to do. The Dublin III regulation in Europe does exactly what you say it does. All 7 countries in Central America and Mexico are asylum-granting countries. And, in fact, Mexico's asylum law is much broader than ours. And it covers the sort of internal problems and general conditions of violence that American law doesn't. American law is very limited. You can only get granted asylum based on race, religion, nationality, membership in a particular social group, or political opinion. People who are fearing poverty or generalized violence aren't eligible.
Yeah, that brings up an important point for Alan. If we really do want people, I understand your arguments are technical, but the fact is, when it comes right down to it, if someone's fleeing something awful, don't we want them to get security and safety as quickly as possible? Just principally, would you not agree that that is a good goal to have?
Yeah, but Mexico and the countries in between does not reach that goal. And since we were supposed to be talking about national security, the people that we've seen in cages at our border should not be a threat to the largest and most powerful nation in the world. Our security.
I would just love an answer. This is it. I'm a Democrat.
Sure.
Right? I'm a Democrat from California. We all just want answers, and I have to tell you, this is what's frustrating to the American people. But gentlemen, thank you for joining me. Obviously, there's a threat of a lawsuit already planned to stop this. But if you really care about migrants and asylum seekers, you want them to get the help they need, and that's to push them through another 1,000-mile trek makes no sense unless it's political.